designed this.
You built this?
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of pissed about this.
Really?
Elf arrived in November of 2003, grossed over $220 million worldwide on a $33 million budget, and became one of the most beloved Christmas films ever made. But what happened to this cast in 2026 is more surprising than anything that played out in that North Pole workshop. Some of these stars are gone. Some reinvented themselves completely. And at least one story carries a heartbreak nobody saw coming. Let's get into it.
I wanna go and bounce the moon,
Well?
just like a toy.
It tastes like a crappy cup of coffee.
Number 1. We have Will Ferrell as Buddy the Elf. Buddy was the 6'3" human raised by elves at the North Pole who descends on New York City with zero filter and maximum joy. Will was 36 years old when Elf was released, and the performance was so physically committed, so genuinely warm, that it permanently separated him from every other comedic actor of his generation. What most fans never knew is that Will Ferrell turned down $29 million to make Elf 2, flat out refused. In an industry where sequels are automatic, that decision is almost unheard of at that level. And Will has said publicly that he simply didn't believe a sequel could honor what made the original matter. After Elf, the run was extraordinary. Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, Blades of Glory, then the deliberate pivot, Stranger Than Fiction. In 2006, a quiet, restrained, dramatic performance that stunned critics and proved the comedy machine contained something far more layered underneath. In 2026, Will Ferrell is 58 years old, still one of the most recognizable comedic voices in Hollywood. And the man who said no to $29 million remains one of the most interesting creative decisions anyone in this cast ever made.
We can't just throw him out in the snow.
He loves the snow.
Number 2, we have James Caan as Walter Hobbs. Walter was Buddy's biological father, a cold, workaholic children's book publisher on the naughty list who slowly, reluctantly rediscovers what actually matters. James Caan played him with gruff authenticity that gave the film its emotional backbone. He was 63 years old during filming. Here's the detail that makes this entry land differently. James Caan spent decades being one of Hollywood's most respected and feared presences. Sonny Corleone in The Godfather, a performance Francis Ford Coppola called one of the greatest in cinema history. He earned an Academy Award nomination for it. He followed it with Brian's song Thief, Misery, a career built entirely on intensity and craft. What most fans never knew is how deeply James Caan valued his role as a father in real life. He had 5 children across his lifetime and spoke in numerous interviews about fatherhood being the thing he was most proud of, which gives his performance as the emotionally absent Walter Hobbs a quiet, personal irony that only deepens on rewatch. James Caan passed away on July 6, 2022, at the age of 82. In 2026, he would have been 86 years old. The man who played a father who forgot what mattered spent his real life making sure he never did.
Walter, this is wonderful. You have another son.
Number 3, we have Mary Steenburgen as Emily Hobbs. Emily was Walter's kind, open-hearted wife, the emotional center of the Hobbs household, who accepts Buddy with a grace her husband takes the entire film to find. Mary Steenburgen brought warmth and intelligence to the role that elevated every family scene around her. She was 51 years old during filming. Here's something most fans never knew. Mary Steenburgen is an Academy Award winner, Best Supporting Actress for Melvin and Howard in 1980, a fact that a surprising number of Elf viewers have no idea about. She arrived on that Christmas set with an Oscar on her shelf and delivered the most grounded performance in the entire film without drawing a single frame of attention away from Will Ferrell. After Elf, she continued building one of the most quietly consistent careers in Hollywood. Justified, Las Vegas, and a beloved recurring role in the Netflix series Grace and Frankie across 6 seasons. She has been married to actor Ted Danson since 1995. Over 30 years. One of the most genuinely enduring relationships in an industry famous for the opposite. In 2026, Mary Steenburgen is 73 years old and still working. The woman who played the most patient mother in Christmas movie history turned out to have the most stable, grounded real life in this entire cast.
I was naked in the shower.
I didn't know you were naked. Why were you here so early?
Number 4, we have Zooey Deschanel as Jovi, and here's the twist. The real life behind this performance is far more complicated, far more surprising, and far more human than anything the script ever asked her to play. Then came New Girl, 6 seasons, 146 episodes from 2011 to 2018, 2 Golden Globe nominations, and a cultural moment that made her one of the most recognizable faces on American television. But nobody saw what came next in her personal life. 2 public divorces, from musician Ben Gibbard in 2012 and producer Jacob Pechenik in 2019, played out in full tabloid view. Then came the relationship nobody predicted, a romance with Jonathan Scott of Property Brothers fame that became one of the most talked about pairings in entertainment media, and, by all accounts, one of the most genuinely happy chapters of her life. In 2026, Zooey Deschanel is 46 years old. The slightly cynical elf who needed Buddy to remind her that joy was worth choosing turned out to find it herself, just on her own timeline.
What do we do? So, Santa had a decision to make. Fortunately, when it comes to babies.
Number 5, we have Ed Asner as Santa Claus. Santa needed weight, warmth, and unshakable authority, and Ed Asner delivered all 3 without breaking a sweat. He was 74 years old during filming, and watching him inhabit that role, you understand immediately why the casting was never a question. Ed Asner was one of the most decorated actors in television history. 7 Emmy Awards, more than any male performer in the history of the medium. Here's something most fans never knew. Ed Asner was as politically outspoken as he was talented, serving as president of the Screen Actors Guild twice, and consistently using his platform to advocate for causes he believed in, regardless of industry consequences. He never softened his views to protect his career. In Hollywood, that kind of consistency is almost as rare as 7 Emmys. Ed Asner passed away on August 29, 2021, at the age of 91. In 2026, he would have been 97 years old. The man who played Santa Claus with more conviction than almost anyone before him turned out to be, in real life, someone who fought just as hard for what he believed in. Some people are simply built for the role they were always meant to play.
Just see how low the plasmometer is.
That's shocking.
That's why I came up.
Number 6, we have Bob Newhart as Papa Elf. Papa Elf was Buddy's adoptive father, the gentle, patient elf who raised a human child at the North Pole and narrates the whole story with a warmth that sets the film's entire emotional tone. Bob Newhart played him with the signature understated timing that had made him one of America's most beloved comedic performers since the early 1960s. He was 74 years old during filming. What most fans never knew is that Bob Newhart essentially stepped back from television in 1990 after The Bob Newhart Show ended, only to return with one of the most celebrated sitcom finales in television history, and then continue working steadily into his 80s. His guest arc on The Big Bang Theory between 2013 and 2019 introduced him to an entirely new generation of fans who had no idea they were watching a comedy legend. Bob Newhart passed away on July 18, 2024, at the age of 94. In 2026, he would have been 96 years old. Papa Elf told Buddy that he loved him no matter what. Bob Newhart spent 94 years making everyone around him feel exactly that way.
No, I've never seen him before.
Hey, buddy! Your brother!
Oh, man.
Number 7, we have Daniel Tay as Michael Hobbs. Michael was Walter's teenage son, Buddy's half-brother, who starts the film skeptical and embarrassed and ends it completely won over. Daniel Tay was just 13 years old during filming, and he held his own in every scene opposite Will Ferrell with a natural ease that made Michael feel like a real kid rather than a plot device. Here's the twist that nobody in the Elf audience ever saw coming. Daniel Tay walked away from acting almost immediately after Elf. No follow-up films, no television career, no attempt to ride the wave of a massively successful Christmas movie into Hollywood. He returned to private life as a teenager and stayed there, pursuing education and a career entirely outside the entertainment industry. In 2026, Daniel Tay is 36 years old, living privately, and by every available indication, completely content with the life he chose over the spotlight. The kid who played Buddy's skeptical little brother turned out to be one of the wisest people in this entire cast.
Puts you?
Number 8, we have Peter Billingsley as Ming Ming the Elf. Ming Ming was the head production elf in the North Pole workshop. Precise, efficient, and quietly one of the most recognizable faces in the entire film for anyone who grew up watching Christmas movies. Peter Billingsley was 33 years old during filming, and most viewers who recognized him couldn't immediately place why, because the role they knew him from was almost 20 years old by that point. Here's what most fans never knew. Peter Billingsley was Ralphie in A Christmas Story, the 1983 holiday classic that has aired continuously on television every single Christmas Eve and Christmas Day since 1997. He was 9 years old in that film, which means Peter Billingsley appeared in 2 of the most beloved Christmas movies ever made, separated by exactly 20 years, and barely anyone noticed the connection. In 2026, Peter Billingsley is 56 years old. The kid who wanted a bee gun for Christmas grew up to produce some of Hollywood's biggest comedies. Nobody in this entire cast moved more quietly or more successfully from one side of the camera to the other.
Oh my God! Santa here? I know him.
Number 9, we have Faizon Love as the fake store Santa. The fake Santa scene is one of the most quoted moments in the entire film. Buddy's absolute conviction that this man is an imposter, the physical escalation, the complete commitment to chaos, and Faizon Love played his side of it with a perfectly timed mix of outrage and bewilderment that made the scene land exactly as hard as it needed to. He was 33 years old during filming, already building a strong comedic presence through Friday Torque and a memorable recurring role in the sitcom The Parent 'Hood. What most fans never knew is how wide Faizon Love's range actually runs beneath the comedic surface. He studied acting seriously and has spoken in interviews about the discipline required to play reaction comedy opposite performers as physically unpredictable as Will Ferrell, where the timing has to be completely instinctive because no 2 takes are ever the same. In 2026, Faizon Love is 55 years old and still active across film and television. The man who got into a fight with an elf over a Santa suit turned out to have one of the most eventful real lives in this entire cast. Elf brought together a cast that ranged from Oscar winners to comedy legends, to a 13-year-old who made one of the wisest decisions anyone in this list ever made. Some of those voices are gone now. James Caan, Ed Asner, Bob Newhart. 3 losses that hit harder when you realize how much warmth they brought to a film built entirely on warmth. But every single performance in this movie holds up because every single person on that screen meant it. Now here's the question this comment section needs to settle. Was Will Ferrell right to turn down $29 million and walk away from Elf 2? Because that decision is either the most principled move in Hollywood history or the most expensive mistake anyone in this cast ever made. Drop your answer below. Let's find out where this audience stands.